Imagine waking up tomorrow and something strange happens. The money in your pocket is still there. Your coins, your cards, your digital balance. Everything looks normal. But nobody accepts it anymore. A shopkeeper refuses it. A bank ignores it. People stop trusting it. Suddenly, that piece of paper that could buy food, clothes, and houses becomes almost worthless. But why? Why does a small piece of paper have power? Why does a number on a phone screen represent real value? The answer is one of the most fascinating stories in human history. The story of money. Because money was never really about paper, metal, or numbers. Money is about one thing: trust. Thousands of years ago, humans did not have coins, banks, or digital payments. If you had something valuable, you had to trade it directly. A hunter might exchange meat for grain. A farmer might exchange crops for tools. This was called barter. At first, it worked. But as human societies grew, a huge problem appeared. Imagine you have wheat and need a tool. You find a person who makes tools. But they don't want wheat. They want fish. Now you have something useful, but nobody wants it at that moment. Trade became slow because both people needed to want exactly what the other person had. Humans needed something everyone would accept. Something that could carry value from one person to another. And this is where the first forms of money appeared. Long before coins existed, people used objects that were rare, useful, and trusted. One of the earliest examples was the cowrie shell. Thousands of years ago, especially during the Shang dynasty in ancient China, cowrie shells became symbols of wealth. They were beautiful, durable, easy to carry, and difficult to find in some inland regions. Archaeologists discovered cowrie shells inside ancient Chinese tombs, showing they were connected with wealth and status. The influence of shells was so strong that ancient Chinese characters connected the shell symbol with ideas related to money and trade. But shells had limits. As trade expanded, people needed something stronger, something easier to measure. Another surprising form of money was salt. Today, salt is common. But in the ancient world, salt was extremely important. It helped preserve food, especially meat and fish. People needed it to survive. In places where producing salt was difficult, it became a valuable trade item. A person could exchange salt for other goods because everyone understood its usefulness. But salt had a weakness. It could be damaged. It could disappear. It was difficult to store forever. Humans continued searching for something better. In many ancient societies, another form of wealth walked on four legs. Cattle. Animals represented power because they provided food, milk, labor, and resources. Owning more animals often meant owning more wealth. But cattle were not perfect money. A cow could not easily be divided into smaller payments. It could get sick, and carrying your wealth was impossible. Humans needed something smaller, something stronger, something that could last. The next major step was metal. Civilizations such as Mesopotamia and Egypt began using metals like copper, bronze, silver, and gold in trade. Metal had huge advantages. It lasted a long time. It was easier to store, and valuable metals were naturally limited. But there was still a problem. Every trade required checking the weight. Was the metal real? Was it pure? Was it worth enough? Money needed a trusted mark. And that changed everything. Around 600 BCE, in the ancient kingdom of Lydia, located in modern-day Turkey, the first official coins appeared. Lydia used a natural mixture of gold and silver called electrum. Instead of weighing metal every time, rulers stamped pieces with an official symbol. That small mark changed human history. A person no longer needed to ask, "How much is this metal worth?" The stamp itself created trust. Coins spread quickly. Greek cities created their own coins. Persian rulers adopted coin systems. Later, Rome used coins across one of the largest empires the world had ever seen. Roman coins were not only money. They were messages. They carried emperors' faces, military victories, and symbols of power. But even coins had problems. Rome eventually reduced the precious metal inside some coins. The coin looked the same, but it was worth less. People learned an important lesson. Money only works when people trust what is behind it. As trade grew, another problem appeared. Coins were heavy. Imagine a merchant traveling thousands of kilometers carrying bags full of metal. It was slow. It was dangerous. And it was inconvenient. So in China, merchants began using written receipts instead of carrying large amounts of coins. During the Song dynasty, around the 11th century, the government took this idea further. They created official paper money called jiaozi. For the first time in history, a government created paper currency. A small piece of paper could represent value that once required heavy bags of coins. But paper money created a new challenge. If too many notes were printed, trust could disappear. The world learned another lesson. Money is powerful because people believe in it. The idea of paper money traveled beyond China. When travelers like Marco Polo visited China in the 13th century, they described a strange system to Europeans. A simple piece of paper could buy valuable goods. Many people could not believe it. How could paper have value? But slowly, the idea influenced the future of banking. As international trade expanded, banks became more important. People no longer needed to carry all their wealth. They could store money and use records instead. Value was no longer only something you held. It became something that could be recorded. Later, many countries connected paper money to gold. This was called the gold standard. A banknote represented a promise that it could be exchanged for a certain amount of gold. Gold created trust because it was rare and valuable. But the system had a problem. The world was growing faster than gold supplies. During wars and economic crises, governments needed more flexibility. Eventually, many countries moved away from gold-backed money. A new era began. Modern money became known as fiat money. The word means let it be done. Unlike gold or silver, fiat money does not get value from the material itself. It gets value because people trust it. A banknote is useful because millions of people agree to accept it. Then money became even less physical. In the 20th century, credit cards appeared. People no longer needed to carry large amounts of cash. A small card could represent access to money. Then came ATMs. For the first time, people could access their money without entering a bank. Money became available anytime. The internet changed everything again. Money moved from cards into computers. Payments could travel across countries in seconds. Then smartphones transformed the way people paid. Your phone became your wallet. A device that was already in your pocket could now hold your money. In 2009, another experiment appeared. Bitcoin, a digital currency designed to work without a traditional central authority. Instead of one institution controlling the record, transactions were verified through a network of computers. It introduced a new question. Can money exist without a traditional bank? From shells on ancient beaches, to gold coins in ancient kingdoms, to paper notes, to cards, to invisible numbers moving through computers. The story of money is the story of human imagination. Every generation created a new solution to an old problem. How do we trade? How do we store value? How do we trust each other? Because money was never just an object. It was an agreement between people, a promise, a shared belief. And as humans continue to change, money will continue to change with us. Because the history of money is not really about what we use to pay. It is about the thing that makes all payment possible. Trust.